I'm sure that they will at this point. They needed that. But is this a turning point, or is this just 2 games that they won?
It's a good sign, but it is not a turning point. J.R. Smith, who had been the least productive starting 2-guard in the league, was 11 of 20 from 3 in these 2 games. I don't want to simplify it to just one player from being terrible to being amazing, but that helped a lot. LeBron, after being in, I would say, about a 2-week funk in these 2 games, gave you 26, 9, and 13 a night, despite the fact that in the first game of this 2-game winning streak, he had nearly a dozen turnovers. So LeBron's playing at a higher level. They also, it seemed to me that Jay Crowder being moved out of the starting lineup was a bit of a system shock for players on the team not named Jay Crowder. You saw Tristan Thompson playing with more energy.
Stepped it up.
JR, I don't know that he was playing with more energy, but he seemed to be playing a smarter brand of basketball. But I won't believe the Cavs have reached a turning point until either they make a major trade or Isaiah Thomas starts looking full-time like an NBA player. I forgot who put this on Twitter, but it was a smart comment. They said, man, there have been moments this season where Isaiah Thomas just looks like a really short guy trying to play in the NBA, where he's going into the lane, jumping, not knowing what he's going to do with the ball. And he had a good 3rd quarter in the game last night. And that's really all you can take from Isaiah Thomas in this 2-game winning streak. So I won't believe it's a turning point until he starts looking anything close to what he was last year. But it's a good thing. If they had changed the lineup and then lost these 2 games, then you're really flailing. So it was a good step in the right direction.
Right. How many games has Isaiah been back?
10.
Okay, there you go.
Now, I think that we forget Cleveland went back to Boston and said that we need more in the trade because he's hurt. His injury is more significant than what we thought. So now we're in the season. He's playing. We forgot about his injury. We forgot he had a horrific hip injury that as a small player, when you're small in the NBA, either you got to have an unbelievable jump shot, you also have to have unbelievable dribbling skills, but also at the end of the day, you still have to be able to finish around the rim. He's got a hip injury he's coming back from. He's only played 10 games. His legs aren't under him yet. We watch him and you see him out there okay, he's starting. We have this optimism that he came back early, but we forget that he was injured. His legs are not under. Watch him in the pick and roll. Watch how many times he hits the floor when he's playing defense or playing offense. So it's an inordinate amount of time that an NBA, an all-NBA player is on the floor, and a lot of that is because his legs aren't under him yet. That will still take until after the All-Star break. So I believe he will get better. But if Isaiah is not, say, a big 3, the Cavs got no chance. All right? Because right now they got 1 star, and they got Kevin Love and IT. Kevin Love is not playing all-star level, and IT is not anywhere near where he should be as a player. Now, time will take care of that. Is this the answer? Is this the turning point? No, Detroit stinks. They lost 7 straight games. Cleveland gave up 61 points in the first half to Detroit. So, no, it's not. Going into the game, they were the worst in the NBA in defense. Coming out of the game, they're 2nd worst. So, no, it's not a turning point, but we need to realize the significance of the injury that IT had. And just because he's been back 10 games, we see him on the court that we expect to see the player that we've seen the last 2 years, and he's not there yet.
And not to get too in the weeds on the injury front, but if he wasn't hurt, if he was just out this whole time, how long would you give him to get his legs, as you say, back underneath him?
There's no way we would be able to calculate because the only way you can calculate is
by
with the
taking
injury.
Off that time.
It's not as if it's not a high ankle sprain. It's not a sprained MC joint. It's not ACL joint. It's an odd injury. So we couldn't put a time on it. The fact is he's been injured.
Right.
We can't change that.
If he hadn't been injured, if he were suspended for the first 40 games of the year, I would be much more confident because I would look at him and say, okay, he's just out of shape, out of rhythm, all of those things. My biggest level of concern for the Cavs related to Isaiah Thomas is if due to this hip injury, when he is fully healthy, when he is back in game shape, when he is back in rhythm, if he is forget a full step, a half step slower. Because if you people talk about Isaiah Thomas, and I think the image in their head is him hitting threes. Man, Isaiah Thomas was brilliant last year at getting to the rim and somehow finishing over guys literally a foot or nearly a foot and a half taller than him.
And that's not the part that makes him special. It's the combination of at the three-point line and getting to the hole.
But if that getting to the hole goes away, he's not, I mean, just from a
There's a reason why there's not a whole bunch of 5-something guys in the NBA.
Right, even guys that can shoot really well. So that's my biggest level of concern for the Cavs is if Isaiah Thomas has, due to the injury, lost a half step, or if it's going to take him a full year to get the half step back, if you will, then Cece's right. Like, they, as presently constituted, they can't win a championship unless Isaiah Thomas looks close to what he was last season. And that's what we won't know, and unfortunately for the Cavs, we probably won't know it until after the trade deadline. They only have 5 games between now and the trade deadline. Like, they're not going to be able to find out if he's going to be fully healthy until their roster is set in stone.
Last thing, 10 games doesn't seem like a lot, especially when you coming off the injury he's had, not having the legs underneath him. 10 games seems like the smallest of small samplings. So why, even though we all know this, are we throwing out things like they might have to trade him or we have to figure out a way to make this work? If we all know that it's a short amount of time, I mean, why are we not giving this a little more time to breathe?
Because this could be LeBron's last season in Cleveland.
I understand, but didn't we all assume it was going to take him growing pains, games and games, a couple weeks?
We didn't know when he was going to come back. Like, we didn't know. Cleveland knew that the last 3 years they've made moves. So us suggesting that they're going to make another move is just based on what we've seen, and they're not as talented as Golden State. Right. The reason why we're not staying pat because we see what's going on in the West. We know Golden State is out there.
The whole league has a bit of Golden State derangement syndrome, and it's well-founded.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.